on. Stream's up already. I just started recording. All right, so welcome back, people, to episode 3 of A Game of Holes. I had a little bit of time and just kind of felt like throwing one together to have one only a week after the last one because, we've had some stuff going on, and by the time it's been 2 weeks, I feel like some of this news might have gotten a little bit cold. So I'm going to experiment a little bit with a slightly shorter episode, but one that has, stuff focused on what happened the last 7 days since the last one, as well as, bring on some more people, and we're going to have a discussion on some stuff. So, yeah, I also didn't advertise this one as much as I have in the past, so I'm not expecting us to have as much live people here as we did last time, but I wasn't sure right up until about 20 minutes ago if this episode was going to happen, because I had a lot of last-minute juggling of some guests to get going here. So, without further ado, I'll jump on into what we are going to talk about tonight. So, for recent events, we've had a couple things go down in the last week or so that I think are really worth mentioning. First, as I promised last episode, I'm going to touch on the stranger danger eviction and, not eviction, invasion. And I'm not going to go too deep into it right here because we actually have stranger danger here on the show, and they're going to give us a bit of their standpoint after the corp introductions, as well as I'm going to talk a bit about just it on a high level, as well as I have the official answer or response on the item from Whole Control. We're going to talk a little bit about temporary insanity. They closed up shop for the most part this week. What few members are left in the corp will be leaving shortly. And then we're going to get into some corp intros, and for this episode, I'm going to use the same panel of the 3 people that we have here to go over, and we're going to talk about recruiting for lower class Wormhole Space Corporation. So, like I said last week, literally as the episode was going on, we saw a very large Whole Control fleet camping inside of Stranger Danger's home system in a C4 with the intention of burning them out. I talked a little bit about how there was some counterplay going on from Shekel Squad, Pos Party, and a couple of other groups that went into Beyond the Last Horizon's home system. And, they were camping that out, and the long story short of it is they did successfully manage to force Beyond the Last Horizon to pull their fleet out, and without that group of the fleet helping keep Whole Control, they weren't able to cover and fight off Stranger Danger's U.S. time zone as well as they wanted, and Stranger Danger got control of the hull back and was able to win their hull. But I'm going to let Stranger Danger go into the big nitty gritties there. But the official response from Whole Control is that they were paid. This was a mercenary work hit, and they were paid to go do this against Stranger Danger. And they're not ashamed. They might try it again in the future, maybe not, but they are especially aware that what happened, what saved them, interestingly enough, several weeks ago when Hard Knocks performed a counter invasion against Temporary Insanity when we were attempting to evict Vision Inc. That Seth and Whole Control is feeling that pain when it's working right up against them when they try to do the same. Speaking of Temporary Insanity, last week, Prometheus, the CEO of Temporary Insanity, announced to the corporation that he was going to be closing it down and recommended some places for him and many of his corp members to head off to. It's always kind of a shame when you see this happen because whether or not you liked Temporary Insanity, it's one less kind of fish in the pond. Maybe you thought maybe they fought you, maybe they rolled away, maybe you thought it was fun to meme on them. But regardless of that, all 3 of those options are now gone to us because Temporary Insanity is moving out to greener pastures. All of the members have not yet left. I know that Dominic and Prom themselves are heading to Sound, so it's not like we're losing the Wormhole talent of Sound Mind, who we had on last week in our last episode. Recently moved to a C5. So I'm hoping that we're going to get to see some of their talents at work there, working with with of sound mind. Not that I'm sure if that necessarily they actually needed more FCs, but now they've got some. So I will follow up with that in a couple weeks maybe, and we'll see how that's playing out for them. But it's a corp closing, and a lot of corps are probably gobbling up some of their members. I do know that some of their members have joined TD Sin, some of them have joined POS Party, a lot of them have joined Sound, and I'm sure some others are trickling into here and there as well. And then a quick highlight I just wanted to bring up, just because we're discussing our favorite hole control friends here. Today, one of the largest fights that they have had since they resurged later at the end of the summer. They fought hole control. How Hole Control fought Hard Knocks, and you saw them a much better showing, I think, than we saw from them when they first came back from their slumber and went out to fight Laserhawks. But they managed to kill a Dreadnought from Hard Knocks, and they did score a couple kills. And learn and talk to some of our guests here. So going first, we have Ezekiel Amon, the personnel director from Stryker Industries.
Hey guys. I'm in the process of getting hammered right now on White Russians and Oreos. If you haven't tried that, you need to dip Oreos in White Russian. I promise, it's freaking heaven. Anyway, I'm the personnel director for Stryker Industries, as ExookIZ said. You may recognize me from all the memes that I spam Facebook with constantly. What we're a C2 Corp. We live constantly connected to HighSec. We choose to stay there instead of moving up to high class for the bigger fish, simply because it's more access to targets. I like to tell people we're trophy hunters. We like to just look around for people to fight. We find structure bashes incredibly boring. That's why we don't really blow up too many Astro houses and citadels and such, just because it's just tedious and we start bleeding from the nose and it's really, really boring. Anyway, we like to really just find people that we can just chill out with. We're strike team tactics. We're in out very quickly, and we take all walks of life of people. My personal story is I was once just this utter high-set care bearer with Zoomers 5 and Marauders 5 and all those little care bear traits. And they took me in. An old friend from a corporation maybe 10 years ago took me in. His name's Amara, and he trained me into being into PvP. And I've been with Stryker just under 2 years now. I've been running our recruitment program for roughly a year. And we've had quite a spike in numbers, but we've had a slow, steady spike in numbers. We're getting all the right people, people that I'm immensely proud of. Some of them, even Hard Knocks has sent us a couple people, like Arturo and Zwyken. Honestly, I don't think the Corp could manage without them now. They've become such an asset. We found a couple people on Reddit, like Watts. We found people just out of the memes that I post, talking about what we're looking for. And what we do is we just provide a very relaxed environment to where people can just go out hunting, enjoy it as a video game, learn how to make some money, and then they can log off and enjoy their real life.
Almost not heard of you. So your corp lives in a C2, right?
That's correct, yes.
What statics does your corp have?
HighSec and a C3.
All right. So, what would you say is the kind of pilot you're really looking for?
Really anybody we can just sit down and have a beer with and laugh. We're a really close band of brothers sort of corporation. We're all actually friends. We just sit down, shoot the breeze, go hunting together, and anybody who's teachable. That is the biggest thing we look for. I've actually told 15-year vets they can't join us, but I've taken 2-week-old characters. One 2-week-old character I took, his name's Nobu. He was begging for his life in local, and I one-shotted him with my Harb Navy, and then he joined 2 days later, and now he's leading trillion-esque fleets. with incursions and things like that, we've trained him up to be just this PvP nightmare, and he actually scares me a little bit, which makes me proud. So,
Great.
Yeah, so I'm Steve O'Patriot, co-CEO of Stranger Danger. It says we're a C4 corp, pretty new on the block really, few months, but we're growing relatively quick. What we offer that we like to see is a bit different is what's been described before as we beat our drum to a different rhythm. We're more chilled, no like mandatory CTAs or anything like that. We just play the game. You know, if you need to go AFK for a month because you've got work, go AFK. Your stuff will be here when you get back. Hopefully, you'll be allowed to come and go as you please into the game. With that, you get a lot of benefits. There's not as much pressure to make sure you have to log in. You're not worried all the time. But the atmosphere in the corps a lot different to any that I've been in before. I've been in big null set corps like CO2 and down to medium-sized, low-set groups, and there always seems to be this push that you need to log in and do things, otherwise one day you might get kicked out. One thing you'll find with Stranger Danger is it's the complete opposite. It's when you log in, you're there to have a laugh. It's a game. It's just pixels. No one cares if you die. No one cares if you run around on fire. The point is when you're logging in, you know, everyone's having a laugh, and that's something we like to keep moving, keep going with. One name that we're trying to build for ourselves is that we'll fight anyone. Doesn't matter if the corp's 3 times our size. You know, we've jumped into Rage to fight Hard Knocks with Capitals. We've fought TD Sin earlier in the week. You know, it doesn't matter what group you are, win or lose, a fight's a fight, and that's what we're there for. We're a PvP corp. If we're out mining, probably baiting. But that's who we are. We like to use cloaky fleets. We like to just fly around with our friends and have fun. As it happens, a lot of people in EVE like to do that as well, and we've been steadily growing and hopefully building some sort of name for ourselves as someone who's fun to have around in Wormhole space, and really hoping to stay there and get to fight as many people as we can.
I like the chat. The chat loves your baiting comments. I mean, I think that's classic cover up. You know, if you get caught mining and you kill them, it was bait. If they kill your miners, it was still bait. We were just a little bit too slow on on springing the trap. You know, maybe you run into the old problem of baiting of no one in your corp knew they were baiting in the mining ship, but it all works out in the end. So, how long has your corporation been living in your C4?
In the C4 that we're in now, somewhere around 6 to 9 months we've been in there. It started off as 2 separate groups. A small group that I had, originally called Stealth Co, and a Corporation Suspicious Activity. And when we only had a few members each, we kind of crashed into each other in wormholes and got to know each other, and decided to join Alliance. First of all, the Stranger Danger Alliance, and obviously living in wormholes with no Alliance bookmarks, CCP please. We ended up just giving up in the end and saying it was much easier if we just formed our corp together and went flying in the same direction together. So about, I'd say 6-9 months ago, we formed Almost Dangerous, got all our members in one place, and never looked back.
So, I'm noticing a trend here with the corp names. Do you have a particular affinity for strangers and dangers and candy vans?
No. It just looks good above the Citadel, doesn't it? No, it's a nice tagline. You know, it's something fun. It pretty much sums us up. You know, we get to have a laugh. Nothing's taken too seriously. Even down to our corp name, Almost Dangerous. You know what I mean? Like, we just don't take anything seriously at all. It's all just fun.
I remember I was scanning a hole a few months ago, and I seen your logo, the Stranger Danger logo with the sucker and the shadow guy, and I just died laughing. It was the greatest thing I'd ever seen.
You're missing an Alliance logo, Ezekiel. Like, I didn't give you guys one here on the slides because it was just going to be the silly default one.
Yeah, we just founded the Stryker Group Alliance. We will be, as soon as we meet the 6-month CCP requirement, we'll be putting one of those up.
All right, well, looking forward to it. So, Steve-O, invasion by hole control. Do you guys have a theory on exactly what led that? Do you believe their story when hole control just says it was nothing personal, just got paid to do it?
I can honestly say, when I spoke to all of our members, we don't really have an opinion on it. Like, if it's something they wanted to do just for the content, fine. You know what? It's Eve. If they were paid, fine. Someone somewhere's upset, and I suppose job success. That weekend saw our highest activity we've had in one sustained instance. We had a lot of people couldn't wait to log in. The ping channel was exploding. Everyone was having a laugh on comms. We got to speak to some corporations that we've not spoke to in a while, and we probably should have, kept up with. And from our side of the fence, it's done us nothing but good. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, at the end of the day, so it doesn't really matter what the motivation behind it was. We don't hold grudges against people. You know what I mean? If they rolled into us tomorrow and wanted to fight, we'll fight them. We're not going to go on some sort of mad revenge plot. If we see them again in the future, we see them again, and we'll try our best to look after what's ours. But there's no reason to sit and hold anything against other people. It's just a game, innit?
You guys weren't even aware how many groups were trying to get into Beyond the Last Horizon's home system when all this started, were you?
No, when it all started, I was asleep in bed. I got a ping saying that a whole control fleet was coming in, and we didn't have enough guys online to immediately form up and contend. So it's obviously when you're coming into a home invasion kind of scenario, you need to keep as many bodies in the hole as you can for when the time is right. We started reaching out to people, and before we knew it, we'd speak to one group and someone would mail us back. And for whatever reason, people decided to help us. Obviously, we're massively thankful, but every single group that we got aid from, at some point we've fought in the past, we've exchanged banter with, we've had a good laugh with. I'd say to some extent, I hope that we proved that we're good to have in Wormhole space. So although it was a surprise how many people took up arms and the way in which they did it, and trying to invade back and counter invade and getting into our wormhole, like, we got a lot of people into our wormhole as well to help fight alongside us. So the response was a surprise in numbers, but the fact that it happened to some extent, I'd hope that the way that we represent ourselves when we meet people in space and all the good fights afterwards, the mails to people, and we have a lot of banter with other FCs and stuff on opposite sides of the fence. It's not a surprise that I hope people want to keep us around to fight again in the future.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think, a feeling that most corps kind of wish. I mean, it's easy enough to say we've got some friends, they might come save us, but in wormhole space, in many cases, the reality is, if the group that's doing the invasion knows what they're doing, and if they've brought the right numbers, it's very unlikely that anyone's going to be able to necessarily just walk on in and come save you. But honestly, I thought it was just a joke. A couple of groups talking about rage rolling C5s for Beyond the Last Horizon, but I think it was Shekel Squad that actually did, and it didn't even. They got pretty lucky. It didn't take them long at all. And then next thing you know, they'd taken hull control, and because naturally there was barely anyone home. I mean, I can say Beyond the Last Horizon, whether they did it a lot better than Temporary Insanity did, because none of their structures were vulnerable until the whole op was going to be over. So the fact that enemies got into their home system and managed to take hull control, it at least wasn't going to matter for several days. Now, in that instance, Shekel Squad let them back in so that they were hoping they were going to come fight them in Pos Party, which is, spawned, at least on the Tweet Fleet Slack, the cat feed meme, in which Drykilla, the CEO of Beyond the Last Horizon, brought his entire fleet back, got into his home system, got a bunch of capital ships, and then said, no, we have to go feed our cats, and logged his entire fleet off. which is kind of just always kind of interesting to be, years like I was there, or at least I know where that came from when such a thing happens. So, well, I think we can. I imagine I'm was saying with the same idea that most people would be, that I'm glad to see that you're still around. Your corp is cool. We've had some great fights. I don't know if Stryker Out of Focus has similar words or not, but I think that I can speak for at least a lot of other Wormhole corps in which we're glad that you guys are alive. We're glad you're still here, and we can't wait to go shoot you guys in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're big fans of Stranger Danger. I think a few of our pilots actually showed up to help them in that fight.
Yeah, it was a pretty good show, and like the amount of people. We got to one point where I've got to give credit to Hull Control as well, because I'm assuming due to the time zones, due to what was going on with Beyond the Last Horizon, we were basically given a window to get Hull Control, where we outnumbered them from then on, and they still, at some points logged in, tried to poke out of the pass, and from what I hear afterwards, if the numbers were a little bit closer, they probably would have still tried to fight us just for the content. So, to some degree, you've got to tip the hat off and say they gave it a go. They didn't, just come in and then sit there. They came in, there was a possibility of a fight there, but so many people showed up to help us that it wouldn't have been doable. Like, they would have just been throwing the ships away to some extent. They would have got some kills, absolutely. They got great FCs over there. But thankfully, we've got friends.
Hello, I'm King Creator. I've been in Wormhole space for the past 4 years, but before that I was in high sec and then null sec, but I didn't know shit about the game. Just a bit of an F1 monkey, and then I decided in high sec to start a corp with some other people that didn't know what the fuck they were doing, and we started a corp. Did some incursions, died a couple of times, and decided it wasn't for us. Then we moved to a C1, which was shit. We moved out of that into a C3, which we had no idea what the fuck we were doing there either. So then we moved to a C4 with some friends. I mean, this was before Out of Focus. Out of Focus, I'll get onto in a bit. And then we moved to a C5 with some people that were not really good people, and they basically to steal all our shit and basically just be scumbags. And thankfully, Odin's Call came to rescue the White Knights, and after that we joined up with them, with my own corp at the time, INTU, and they were really cool. At the time it was 1% that was leading that charge in Odin's Call, and we were there for a few months and we got to know everyone in Alliance. We really enjoyed it and all that, and then afterwards the main corp in Odin's Call, 1%, was kind of on a downward spiral, and we were kind of doing quite well, and we decided to merge together and make a new corp, and we kind of went backwards actually. We didn't choose the name, we chose the ticker first, and then we're like, what works with the ticker? And then we went with Out of Focus, and we made a terrible corp logo. We're going to stick with it because it's done now. Everyone hates it, but it's done. And we moved to their Wormhole at the time, which was a C5, C3 Pulsar. Again, a pretty shithole to be honest, but it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun there. And we kind of used caps for PvP when we could, when we had incoming connections. Worked around the mass. The mass issue on the static was a good thing and a bad thing, I have to say. But we worked around it with PvP. We did the dance with all the groups and died our fair share of times, but also killed people a fair share of times. And I think we got a reputation of a group that takes fights, not necessarily always wins them, but tries to. We play to win.
You guys sleep a lot, King. Every time I roll into you, you just tell me you're asleep.
Yeah, dude, it's a corp sleep op. We all hit the bed when any PvP entity rolls in us. We have to pretend to sleep. But no, I'm just joking. But we've been we have a variation in time zones, really. We fight. The last time I actually remember, we were doing an eviction, and we rolled into you guys, and I felt pretty bad because I didn't want to fight you guys. But at the end of the day, we were doing an eviction, and we did have to roll there. But we fight when we can, but we're not. We've already done our kind of whelping to the big group's tribute. We got nothing to prove for ourselves anymore. We've done the fighting. We take fights. But we're not going to suicide in. it's not our game anymore. But yeah, we fight you guys plenty of times. I think we haven't fought you guys in our new home though in a while. We used to fight you guys in our old home with the Pulsar. I had a lot of fun with that. But yeah, then a few months ago, we got tired of the C5, C3, realized it was be shit, and probably time to move. And we did. We got incredibly lucky with. We pretty much moved all our shit out in the space of about 40 hours. We got 11 caps out in 48 hours, so that was be lucky as well. I don't know how that happened, but we did. And moved to a C2, C5 nullsec. So we actually moved down, and now we're considered a low-class corp. And yeah, we love it. We have fun. You know, we shoot shit, we kill shit. But before that, you know, as every corp does, we had ups and downs, and yeah, we did a bit of a low-sec deployment. Moved out our home just to kind of break up the movement, which you know, had its upsides and downsides. I guess most people didn't like it. We knew, you know, Wormhole space was where we'll always be. So yeah. No, not at all, to be honest, I don't think. Like, I think it depends on your static, and, you know, there's a variation when you say, you know, when you say C2 corp, you know, you got a lot of very good groups with static C5, static nullsecs, and, you know, they attract good pilots. You know, you got Hotline, yeah, you got tons of others that, you know, recruit high SB characters that play the game and, you know, are active. But no, we if anything, we're getting, you know, it's easier for us to recruit now because, you know, we have better statics. I think, you know, I prefer low class anyway. It's a different type of play you get. With the high class stuff, it's kind of, you know, without making sweeping generalizations, it's kind of, you know, I always found it was kind of a lot of ping warrioring that went on with these kind of big brawls that you get every month or whatever, or, you know, obviously a bit less than that most of the time, but, you know, you'd ping warrior and you get like 20, 30 dudes, you go have a brawl, you'd either lose or you'd stomp them, or, you know, that's how it went. And then, you know, it just depends what you're looking for, in my opinion. But I think you just got to work on getting your own corp identity out there. You know, you got to be active. That's the main thing, killing shit. Get your name out there, and, you know, make some videos or whatever, record your fights, show people about reports, show what you do. Get out there on Reddit, EVE jobs, get out there on the EVE forums, you know, recruit, get some players, and, you know, if you're known and you PvP, then people will come themselves, I find, most of the time.
So, can the stream hear me now? I guess my last question for you, King, wasn't broadcast over the stream. I'm not sure. The recorder says that it's catching my voice. All right, so we're good, I guess. I don't know what happened.
We're hearing you just fine.
Yeah, well, I mean, King answered my question, so clearly he could hear me. So I guess I'm just curious, how do your corporations focus on trying to recruit? Like Ezekiel, you're all over Facebook. You know, it's not a day goes by that I don't see a sometimes good, sometimes not as good Stryker meme being posted to the Facebook group. Sometimes of which is getting reported, and someone's asking me to delete it. I have yet to delete any of your memes so far, but I don't know.
You're probably going to delete the one for tomorrow. It's probably going to get me banned, actually.
Oh no, are you gonna piss off Chris?
Probably not Chris. Maybe JD. I don't know.
Yeah, JD's angsty. He's an angsty little British child. So is that the main way that you get your recruits? Do you source most of your recruits from Facebook?
Actually, no. When I first took over this, like, I just started trying to draw up like this. Whenever I first started taking over recruiting for Stryker, that is, I started trying to draw up like a framework of a mentality to go about this. And the first thing I realized is, you know, Wormhole Space is the greatest thing in EVE, and EVE is the greatest video game in the world. And the memes are about getting more people into Wormhole Space. And I'm sure Stranger Danger here can tell you, we've even sent them some recruits that we can't take because sometimes our recruitment's closed. My ideal thing would be to have like this database of people and all their requirements and be able to help someone find a Wormhole Corp. I don't care if they join us or not. I mean, all Wormhole Corps need targets and they need pilots. So really, I'm passionate about getting people into wormhole space, but as far as recruits, we find it very easy to find people because a lot of people are just looking to kick back with some friends and just hunt and have a good time and then log off. And that's exactly the kind of environment Stryker allows. Is you can log on, and if real life keeps you away for a month at a time, that's fine. We've had one guy who's been inactive for a year, but he still keeps in contact with us. Um, and we're just very passionate about getting people into wormhole space, and then Stryker second, simply because it's just the greatest area in Eve, and people need to be able to experience that. And if I can be the liaison that says, okay, well, this guy would be a good fit for Stranger Danger, or this guy would be a great fit for Scary Wormhole people, or Odin's Call, that'd be awesome. I mean, I'm cool with as long as people are coming into wormhole space. That's really my main goal.
Yeah, I think Stranger Danger sits in a very similar place. We've passed people who've come to us that we're looking for maybe a more serious Eve. They want the CTAs, they want the evictions and stuff. We've passed them on to other corps as well.
Well, I was just gonna say with CTAs, it's kind of like it's more of a defense thing, I think, or the big fight. You're gonna get a big tie-day fight, or you're gonna get, you're gonna be defending your ship if it's a CTA. I've never heard of any wormhole groups doing a CTA fleet or whatever, but I think that's more of a nullsec thing. But you
Yeah.
don't need to make it if you're a good group that creates content and people want to join it. You don't need to make a CTA. CTA is for people that have to really get people to join. But I think most other decent groups don't need that.
I think most of the people we've had a few that have come from nullsec groups, and what they're looking for basically when we spoke to them have been like, oh, we're going to go attack this guy on Monday, and they'll know to log in on Monday. Like, it's not what we're looking for. We personally, when we're speaking to people, we don't really take alphas. We're looking for people, obviously, you can at least cloak up. We're looking for people who may be relatively new but are willing to learn. We're looking for people who have either lived in wormholes or have tried other space, and are willing to just kick back and play the game. And we've got a lot of them from Facebook as well. We get a lot passed on from people like Stryker as well. And
Robin's all over Facebook. She's like,
yeah.
have you heard about my corp? She does that inside of Ezekiel's Facebook thread sometimes. When people start talking about his memes, Robin's there to be like, so, now that you're here reading this corpse meme, could I interest you in joining my corp?
Yeah, so she got us all. But yeah, no, it's great. Like, when we found recruiting, you get like a critical mass. Like, speaking to people is not relatively the hard part. You can get a lot of people on comms, and when they say like, how's it going? And you can turn around and say, well, look at TS, we've got 30 people logged in tonight. They're like, wow, it's an off time zone, this is cool. And and if they can log in an American time zone, and you've got 10 dudes online logging in Europe, and you've got 10 dudes online, they'll just want to stay. They hear the banter, they see what we get up to, the fact that everyone's just messing about, no one's taking the game seriously whatsoever. You know what I mean? Like, people just stay. People who can't take a joke, or the people who take the game seriously, they leave of their own accord. So you find that by having a more relaxed method to recruiting, the people who kind of settle with you want to be there. So far, thankfully, in-house, we've not really had any major disputes or anything, and we've been growing steadily over the past 6 months. I don't know if it's wormholes that people are finally getting drawn to. I come mainly from a low-sec, null-sec background, and wormholes, to me, I just wish I'd been here sooner. Like, once you take the Sino out of space, it just becomes an entire different monster, and it's amazing.
Amen to that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess out of focus is a bit, kind of different in recruitment standards to the rest of you guys. I mean, we do take the game more seriously than, we're pretty damn serious about it, and we don't, no AFKs, we purge. Well, I purge pretty relentlessly. People in court will know about it, but yeah, I'm pretty Nazi about that, I have to say. And our corp is full of active people that enjoy playing the game, and if you're bit of vetting, then go fuck off somewhere else. That's kind of the bottom line, really. But yeah, we PvP. We we use both our statics on like most C2, C5 null-sec groups, apart from just crabbing the logistics. So we actually do PvP out of like C5 a lot. And we try and balance out, you know, we got the small gang shit we do, you know, on a day-to-day basis, roll the null, roam it, see what we roll into, you know, go after some null bears. But, you know, the Sino thing, the Sino aspect of the game, I know you guys don't particularly like it, but, you know, I enjoy it. You know, I like getting dropped on by these people that don't know how to fly caps. Like 5 hours ago, we caught a guy in a site with like 5 dudes of us, and he didn't even know how to launch out fighters. He was just in a site. He didn't know how to launch fighters. He was locking us up. He was like target painting us and shit, and he just died like a sack of shit. You know, he just died there and then to like 5 dudes in like Omen Navy shoes and stilettos and stuff. It was beautiful. But yeah, we don't really recruit off of Facebook or whatever. It's more kind of like friends and word of mouth, and we do get it from Reddit sometimes and new forums, but it's usually people that kind of, you know, what's worked best for us is we try and fraps a lot of the stuff we do. You know, with voice comms, people listen to that, people like what they see our kill board, and then they contact us and we talk, and then we go from there. But yeah, it's a bit different how we do things. You know, people can see that with our funky fits. We have different fits and everything, but yeah, we like to be different. We like to be snowflakes.
Purely because I think that this will just be funny, but about 18 minutes ago, while we've been on this stream, Hidalgo God lost his 35th Naglfar to Hard Knocks. So keep it up, Hard Knocks. Although going off the stream, I guess we have to go stream snipe him next time, according to Mark. So we'll have to. I guess I'll have to start watching that stream again or something. It's just so hard, though. But I guess it's easier when he's running C6 sites, and Hard Knocks probably has all of the C6s seated with at least a scout at this point. I'd be very surprised if they didn't. So King, what is the main source of people coming to your corp? I know Ezekiel's got a lot of Facebook. Stranger Danger's got a mix of Facebook. Do you get any from Facebook at all? Or does your corp even have a Facebook presence?
No, we don't. We don't use Facebook or whatever. But people like us or whatever, like, and sometimes it's been, you know, groups of players. You know, so what usually happens is 1 or 2 will join, and you know, 1 or 2 might hear us from our like Eve jobs or the forums or whatever. They'll come on TeamSpeak, we'll talk for hours and all that, and they'll be like, they'll come on a roam with us and like, oh, you dudes are pretty cool and stuff, and then they'll get them in their group. You know, that's happened to us, you know, twice in the last month or so. You know, we've had you know, a large group from, well, what's left of Overload This come over, and they're awesome dudes. We had people from you know, the original Hacks people that came in, and they really enjoyed it. But now they've gone off to do their own thing now, and best luck to the cool dudes as well. But yeah, it's usually kind of 1 or 2 people find us from Reddit Eve jobs, or you know, wherever. They'll hear about us, come into our pub chat, they'll start talking to us, come on TeamSpeak, they'll roam, and then they'll usually bring their friends or whatever over, and we go from there.
So this is an open-ended question towards really any of you guys or all of you. What is the hardest thing about trying to convince people to join Wormhole Space that you run into? What, like, you've got the person in your channel, maybe they're talking to you, but their mind's not made up. What is usually the hardest thing you have convincing people to either join Wormhole Space, or if they've already decided that part, to convince them that your corp is the right corp?
Well, I know in Stranger Danger, we don't convince. I think if people want to be there, they'll be there. So the easiest way is, if they're unsure, just get them on comms. Just say, all right, just come fly with us for a day. And if they like the community, the way that we're speaking, the things we're doing, they'll stay. And if they don't like it, then they weren't right for us anyway. Again, the laid back, no pressure, not trying to get people dragged through the door. Got to make sure they're, you know, active. I feel is what makes us a little bit different, a little bit special in Wormholes from what I've come across so far, because everybody comes in and you know, you just have a blast, and you find a guy, like we've killed people before, say in a rattlesnake that we found, and we convoed the guy to say like, oh, you know, try this fit, it'll be a little bit better, you'll get sights done quicker, you'll tank more, or try an MJD, you'll be able to get away. And we start talking, and they're like, "Oh, I'm in the wormhole on my own," and then you're not even like saying you want to recruit them, just like, "Oh, why don't you join us for the night?" And then they'll fly on comms with us, and go on a fleet. We'll go get some kills, and they'll be like, "Wow, you do this every day." I'm like, well, try, yeah, and then they'll just stay, and they never leave.
So a common theme I'm hearing amongst all three of you is that one of the easiest ways to talk and figure out if people are going to fit in is, you guys, do you bring them onto comms and maybe even into a fleet before they've actually joined your corp?
Yeah, that's a requirement for us. They have to do they have to do like a Google document questionnaire for us. That's full with stupid questions, but we like the answers that we get most of the time. And then after that, if everything checks out and after the APIs are checked out and all that, we get them on TeamSpeak and have a chat there.
So for you at least, King, they're not really even talking to anybody until their APIs have already checked out. And other end of the spectrum, we have Ezekiel basically saying they're already flying with him in a fleet before they've even decided if they're going to join his corp or not.
Well, as Sage said in the chat just a second ago, I dropped on him with my Stratios a few months ago on his Procurer, and he escaped with 3% hull and one based on a lucky ECM drone. And we laughed about that for over an hour, and he said he was still shaking when I was already 14 jumps away heading home and about to go to bed. And I told him, I was like, well, that's the shakes, and the shakes is addictive. If you get into it, you're going to love it. And if you want to join Stryker, you just kick my ass, so you've impressed me. So, and he joined the next day, and he's actually been one of our best pilots since then.
I always love hearing those stories. Those are just the best stories of when you're just like, so we killed this guy, and now he's here with us killing other people, and then maybe some of them will join, and it snowballs fantastically. And I feel like sometimes that it's a pretty common story that I hear from Wormhole Corps, but one that I just love because it seems to happen so much in Wormhole space is you kill people. And I've done it. I'm sure all three of us have done it. You kill somebody, and that conversation of just helping them understand what happened or how they can improve for the future turns into them just joining your corp. There's a couple people in my corp that are that have gone that way too, and it's always great to see. I think it's one of my favorite recruiting styles.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think the best stories always come out of Wormhole space. Honestly, it's, in my opinion at least. You get crazy stories like that all the time.
A couple questions from the stream. I guess real quick, just picking one thing from each of you. What is your favorite thing about Wormhole Space? Why? I think at one point all three of you have mentioned Wormhole Space being best space tonight. If you had to sum that up in like 2 to 3 sentences, why is Wormhole Space the best space?
New neighbors every day.
All right, King.
I agree with that.
Yeah, you got to pick your own, Ezekiel. No lazy answers. You can't just go, yeah, what
cool.
he said.
I got you. I got one in the chamber. Don't you worry.
The people, the community, no drama, PvP.
If anybody's ever played Resident Evil 4, which is one of the greatest games ever made, that pond that you come up to at the beginning of the thing, it's perfectly serene, it's calm, but then there's this big ass monster just ready to just devour you as soon as it knows you're there. That's how Wormhole Space is, because there's no local chat. It's the ultimate quiet pond, and then it erupts in insanity, and then it's quiet again. It's absolutely random fuckery, and I love it to death. It's the greatest thing in the world, and you can't get that in nullsec because you've got bots, you've got those programs that read nearby chats. Null bears are the most risk-averse creatures in the world, and it's just when they get that nervous, it removes so much from the game. But here in Wormhole Space, if you're a self-starter and a hard worker and you don't mind getting your ass kicked, you're gonna have such a blast. And I mean, it's just pixels, and I've lost my Stratios. I can't even tell you how many times, but it's so fun. It's hard to convince people to play Eve because it's a game where risk is the reward. But when you come to Wormhole Space, it's risk is the fun, you know.
Well, that was a little more than just 2 or 3 sentences, but the
Hey, that's
stream loves your
props.
answer,
That's
Ezekiel. Mark just threw your quote into his bio. His bio now says "Wormhole space is like a pond." Ezekiel, maybe I'll make a meme for you and post it to Facebook. I'll even put your silly Stryker Industries branding on it. Wormhole space is like a pond. Join Stryker Industries today. All right. Another question that I thought might be good from the stream was I'll start with King because he can give a comparison here. But home defense, King, do you worry about being invaded as much in your C2 as you did when you lived in a C5?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd be completely complacent if I wasn't. I mean, every group needs to have a plan for that. I don't think there's any, it's definitely harder for people to evict us now that we're in the C2, but I don't think it's a huge difference. But at the end of the day, if enough people want to evict you and they're committed enough and you're not properly prepared for it, you're going to get evicted. But, for home defense, think about it critically. Again, I think it was said last week, who are the groups that would want to evict you? Why would they evict you? What would they do it with? Who would their friends be? And what kind of tactics would they employ to do that? And then you got to work around that. You got to have, I think the key thing about home hold defense you got to think about is versatility. If you just have like a shit ton of max or a shit ton of rattlesnakes or whatever that people have, then, that's not always the best option, because I think one thing that people fail to use is that evictions are incredibly tiring for people evicting them, and your best form of kind of defense is making them really fucking tired and really annoying them. So hit and run tactics, people using peats, people bombings, runs, everything, just kind of relentless pressure, I think is the best way. But smart pressure, not just kind of whelping in and trying to kill like a lonely Proteus on the outside of a POS or something and then whelping your entire fleet and getting podded out. No, you got to be smart about it. You got to be, but you do have to kind of put your balls on the table as well. You can't just turtle up in your forces out and wait for the timer and then be surprised when they're at 150 kilometers and you're getting volleyed off.
Sure. So Steve-O, I guess probably somewhat fresh on your mind given recent events. Home defense. Did you feel prepared when hull control hit you guys?
No. I
No.
don't think anyone's actually prepared. Like, you can have plans and stuff, but no plan ever, makes it through the first engagement. It doesn't work that way, You got this plan, you got your ship doctrines, if they do this, if they do that, and then they turn up in summit and you think, oh, never thought of that. It's what you do with what you've got. Being lucky in a C4, with a C3, C4 static, it's a little bit harder for people to hold hull control because they have to guard 2 hulls. You can, thankfully we never had to due to the way that it worked, but you can force them to keep rolling. You can get them to move continually between the hulls, keep the pace up. The fatigue, but it's fatiguing for us as well, and you need to make sure that you're forcing them to do that without taking losses. That's the major important thing. You know what I mean? It's a difficult one. It's not easy. It's not easy to invade. It's not easy to defend. You've just got to be smart, I suppose, but I don't think anyone's truly prepared.
Ezekiel, how concerned about home defense are you in your C2?
It varies, because one week we've pissed off these really, really rich people, and then we're like, okay, roll the holes, keep the clothes closed for now, and then the other weeks we just leave them open for days until they die from time. And it varies, depends on who we think we've pissed off, but honestly, eventually everybody has to defend their home, and it's just a game. I'm not sure who would come from us right now, but as far as home defense, I think we're okay. But as he said, you can't be perfectly prepared. I mean, we have so many bookmarks; it's formed constellations in our wormhole. It's we have plans, but whether those are up to snuff or not, it's going to come down to natural selection.
Thanking everybody for coming onto the stream, Ezekiel, King, and Steve-O. you guys were great. I know that viewership was a little low on this episode, just because, like I said, I wasn't sure if it was going to happen until about 20 minutes prior to us really getting started. I had a plan. I had a bunch of people put together, and about 20 minutes before the episode was supposed to kick off, they both told me that they couldn't come. A little bit of flexibility here, and we got a show going, and I think it worked out pretty well. But we'll keep going. But for both you guys, everybody that's here on live, everybody that listens to it later, I appreciate all of you taking the time to come watch and listen. But I also would love to welcome all of your feedback. I know this episode had a little more technical difficulties than the last one did, and I'll definitely work on sorting that out. If you're interested in being on the show, I'd love to hear from you. If you're interested in hearing about a topic, or you want to hear from someone else, as much as possible, I'd love to just keep this moving. With it's not all about whatever I want to just talk about every night, but what you guys want to hear and listen about. So I also would love some feedback on the cadence and episode length. I know the first episode was very long. Second one was a little short. This one was kind of almost in between those two. And I'm especially also looking for people that want to contribute noteworthy fights, battles, or events happening across Wormhole space. Honestly, I was pretty slammed this week trying to keep up on stuff myself, so I had a little less news than I wanted to. But I'm definitely interested in talking with people and trying to beef up the little bit of news, because that was one of the key areas I wanted to focus on, is just reporting what happens every week. So my next episode is planned to include the September Killboard rankings. So question from the stream. I intend to do that. I just wanted to try to get back in the game of keeping track of how everything's looking. And I'm gonna try to report a bit about who killed the most, who lost the most, who's doing what, and going off of what the killboards can do, because I know rankings is something everybody always loves to hear about. So I intend to have next week's episode, assuming I've got the data pulled together, do have one of those. So I'm going to end there. Thank you again for everybody that's listening, watching, downloading, wherever. I really appreciate it, and everybody enjoy the rest of your weekend.